The microphone is, you can attach it on the key with this. Yeah. Basically, the idea is just to keep it close to the mic.
इसको भी किसी थाने शहर शेर करता की शिकु करता की अनचिकोटी भाषा करता की Church and her just go to Person Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Bhaktivedanta Shri Vasudeva Bhaktivedanta Shri Shivara Krishna Gopal Nath Shankar Shri Hare Shri Guru Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Maturana Davadam Ki Jai Shri Ramji Mai Bhagavatam Ki Jai Shri Nilachal Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Guru Govardhan Ki Jai Scottish Yatra Ki Jai Gandhamai Jagannath Ki Jai Bhakti Srimad Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Shri Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai Shri Prabhupada's Transcendental Prasad Distribution Ki Jai ISKCON Movement Ki Jai Shri Vaishnava Seva Vaishnava Sangha Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premananda All glories to the Sangha devotees All glories to the Sangha devotees All glories to the Sangha devotees All glories and glories to the lotus feet of Shri Guru and Shri Guru. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain real devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with grateful reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of bitter suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. When he wishes to act like consciousness purified by the most elevated of his lotus love. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fills all his eyes. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From his static preeminence and magnificence is joy. The Vedic scriptures sing in his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor and not the master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us shade of your lotus feet. Your favor is spread throughout the 3 worlds. We take shelter at your lotus feet. Is the right grace, they see back to them to Swami Shri Prabhupada. Shri Prabhupada and Moshe. Please make us worthy of your mercy, so that Scottish Yatra may flourish and others are happy devotees, in the blessings of Sri Lakshmi Devi, and especially not for you or your devotees. Shri Prabhupada and Moshe Ki Jai.
That's right, yeah.
Is it another part?
Yeah. John, do you know which part it is for Peter? Yeah. Do you want me to go?
Uniting two worlds from us.
Thanks.
We're on verse 13. Oh, sorry, no. Yeah, 13. Thank you. Reading from Srila Prabhupada Lila Amrita, chapter, volume 6, Uniting the Two Worlds. Chapter 1, please distribute books. San Francisco, July the 5th, 1970. Srila Prabhupada was attending in 1970 Rath Yatra in San Francisco. The day was cold and windy, and about 10,000 people had joined Lord Jagannath's procession through Golden Gate Park. Srila Prabhupada had danced in the street with thousands of participants during the parade, addressed a large crowd in an auditorium by the beach, and looked on as his disciples had distributed a free vegetarian prasadam feast to thousands. But when a devotee arrived with a half-dozen advance copies of Volume 1 of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada appeared especially pleased. Surrounded by devotees and curious festival goers, Srila Prabhupada held one of the books, admired the front cover with its full colour picture of Radha and Krishna. The volume was big, almost 7.5 by 10.5 inches, and its dust jacket shone silver with large, bright and red letters, Krishna. It was a transcendental wonder in Srila Prabhupada's reverent hands. Onlookers could barely restrain themselves from pressing in against Srila Prabhupada to peer over his shoulders. And they didn't restrain their exclamations when Prabhupada smiled and opened the volume. He examined the illustrations, the print, the paper, and the binding. Very nice, he said. He fixed his attention on a page reading. Then he looked up and announced that this greatly valuable book Krishna had just arrived and that everyone should read it. Holding one book in his hand, with the other copies stacked before him, he said that anyone who so desired should come forward and buy a copy. People began clamoring and hands with $10 bills thrust forward, while voices cried out begging for a copy. And Srila Prabhupada promptly sold every book, not even keeping one for himself. For the devotee, Srila Prabhupada's selling of the Krishna book was the most spectacular event of the Rath Yatra festival. They poured over the purchased books in groups, discussing Krishna's pastimes and the effect that they would have on the people of America. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. There's no little marker to indicate. It's page 2. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter the Activities of Maharaj Agnitra, Text 13. Ka Vatma Briti Adanad Davir Anga Vati Vishnu Kalasi Animoshanam Ja Karno Udvigna Meena Yugalam Dvija Pankti Shochi Asana Bringa Nikaram Sara In Mukhan Te Kavatma Vritti Adanada Virangavati Vishnu Kalasi Animisho Namokar Vishnu Kalasi Animishon Makar Chakarno Udvignamina Yugalam Vijapankti Sochi Asana Bringanikaram Sara in Mukam Te Kavatma Vritti Adanada Virangavati Vishnu Kalasi Animishra Mukur Chakarno Udvignamina Yugalam Vijapankti Shochi Asana Bringanikaram Sa Imukham Te Gavatma Vritti Adanada Virangavati Vishnu Kalasi Animishn Mako Chakarno Udvignamina Yugalam Vijapankti Shochi Asana Bringanikaram Sara in Mukham Te Kavatma Vitti Adanata Virangavati Vishnu Kalasi Mishon Makaro Chakarno Udvignamina Yugalam Vijapankti Shochi Asana Bringanikaram Sara Il Mukham Te. Ladies. Kavatma Vritti Adanada Virangavati Vishnu Kalasi Vishnu Makaro Chakarno Udvignamina Yugalam Vijapankti Shochi Asana bringa nikaram saraim mukham te. Tavatma vritti adanata virangavati. Vishnu kalasya nimishna makaro chakarno. Udvignamina yugalam dvijapankti sochu. Asana bringa nikaram saraim mukhante. Ka, what? Va, and. Atma vritti, food for maintenance of the body. Adanat, by the chewing of betel. Havi, pure sacrificial ingredients. Anga, my dear friend. Vati, emanate. Vishnu, of Lord Vishnu. Kala, expansion of the body. Asi, you are. Animisha, without blinking. Amakaro, two brilliant sharks. Ja, also. Karno, two ears. Udvigna, restless. Mina Yugalam, possessing two fish. Dvija Pankti, of lines of teeth. Shoji, beauty. Asana, nearby. Bringa Nikaram, possessing swarms of bumblebees. Sarait, like a lake. Mukham, face. Te, your. Translation. My dear friend, what do you eat to maintain your body? Because you're chewing betel, a pleasing scent is emanating from your mouth. This proves that you always eat the remnants of food offered to Vishnu. Indeed, you must also be an expansion of Lord Vishnu's body. Your face is as beautiful as a pleasing lake. Your jeweled earrings resemble two brilliant sharks with unblinking eyes like those of Vishnu, and your own eyes resemble two restless fish. Simultaneously, therefore, two sharks and two restless fish are swimming in the lake of your face. Besides them, the white rows of your teeth seem like rows of very beautiful swans in the water, and your sacred hair resembles swarms of bumblebees following the beauty of your face. Please repeat. My dear friend, what do you eat to maintain your body? Because you're chewing betel, a pleasing scent is emanating from your mouth. This proves that you always eat the remnants of food offered to Vishnu. Indeed, you must also be an expansion of Lord Vishnu's body. Your face is as brilliant as a pleasing lake. Your jeweled earrings resemble two brilliant sharks with unblinking eyes like those of Vishnu. And your own eyes resemble two restless fish. Simultaneously, therefore, two sharks and two restless fish are swimming in the lake of your face. Besides them, the white rows of your teeth seem like rows of very beautiful swans in the water. And your scattered hair resembles swarms of bumblebees following the beauty of your face. Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The devotees of Lord Vishnu are also expansions. They are called Vivinamsha. Lord Vishnu is offered all kinds of sacrificial ingredients, and because devotees always eat prasad, the remnants of his food, The scent of sacrificial ingredients emanates not only from Vishnu, but also from the devotees who eat the remnants of his food, or the food of his devotees. Agnitra considered Purvachiti an expansion of Lord Vishnu because of the pleasing scent of her body. Aside from that, because of her jeweled earrings shaped like sharks, because of her scattered hair resembling bumblebees mad after the scent of her body, and because of the white rows of her teeth which resemble swans, Agnitra compared Purvachiti's face to a beautiful lake decorated with lotus flowers, fish, swans, and bumblebees. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuramitanina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is just a continuation of Maharaj Agnidra seeing the form of Purvachiti and glorifying her form, her face and her hair, her eyes. And in the purport Srila Prabhupada, he talks about that the devotees of the Lord are his expansions, and they're called Vibhinamsha. So Lord Vishnu has different types of expansions. For example, his expansions like the quadruple expansion of the Chaturvyuha. There's Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. And that's like Swamsha incarnations, Swamsha expansions. But the living entities are called Vibhinamsha. They're eternally part and parcel of Krishna. And they're on different type of expansion. So here it's described that because Lord Vishnu has offered all kinds of sacrificial ingredients, and because the devotees eat that prasadam, they also emanate a sacrificial scent of sacrificial ingredients, like Lord Vishnu. So in sacrificial ceremonies, it would be that after the sacrificial ceremony was performed, the brahmanas would actually get fed the prasadam, and in this canto, actually, in verse 23, chapter 5, 23, there's a nice description of this. The Lord is saying that, O respectful Brahmanas, as far as I am concerned, no one is equal or superior to the Brahmanas in this world. I do not find anyone comparable to them. When people know my motive after performing rituals according to the Vedic principles, they offer food to me with faith and love through the mouth of a Brahmana. When food is thus offered unto me, I eat it with full satisfaction. Indeed, I derive more pleasure from food offered in that way than from the food offered in the sacrificial fire. And Prabhupada in the purport has explained that when the Brahmanas eat the food according to the Vedic system, after the sacrificial ceremony, the Brahmanas are invited to eat the remnants of the offered food. When the Brahmanas eat the food, it is to be considered directly eaten by the Supreme Lord. Thus, no one can be compared to qualified Brahmanas. So this is the system, like Brahmanas and Vaishnavas are even higher than Brahmanas. So the devotees of the Lord, when they're being fed, then it's this equal to the Lord taking that food. So it's very important that we see the significance of this. And also in Canto 3, chapter 16, verse 8, there's a nice verse that says, the conclusion is that if one can feed a Brahmana or Vaishnava, it is better than performing hundreds of thousands of sacrifices. In this age, therefore, it is recommended that Harinam, chanting the holy name of God, and pleasing the Vaishnavas are the only means to elevate oneself to spiritual life. So this is in the purport Prabhupada's showing the great benefit of serving and pleasing the Vaishnavas by offering them remnants of prasad, remnants of food offered to Krishna. So we can see that in all our temples, we are performing Harinam, we're chanting the holy names, and we're feeding the brahmanas, we're feeding the devotees. And so this is how we can please the Lord. And in fact, Prabhupada says, is the in this age, there's this method of chanting Harinam and pleasing the Vaishnavas are the only means to elevate oneself in spiritual life. So it's so important, it's such an important principle that without it, we're not going to make a lot of spiritual advancement, without chanting the holy names, without pleasing the Vaishnavas, and by serving them prasadam. So this is a wonderful service that we can perform by cooking for the devotees, by serving them prasadam. It's like we're cooking and serving the Supreme Lord, foodstuffs. So and also it's very satisfying. In fact, one of the verses in the Guruvastic prayers is the spiritual master is satisfied when he sees that the devotees are taking prasadam. So this is a way we can satisfy our spiritual master as well. He's very satisfied when the devotees are respecting prasadam. So we say these prayers before taking prasadam, because we're considering that we're respecting the prasadam as non-different from Krishna. It's Krishna's remnants. It's very, very rare. It's by great fortune that we get Krishna's prasadam. It's not a general thing that's people have. If you think about all the living entities in this country, how many living entities actually get prasadam, the remnants of the Supreme Lord? It's very, very rare. And these remnants is like very, very purifying. Just like when you take some medicine, then it helps us to get free from some disease. Then this prasadam is like medicine. And if somebody, so because it's touched the lips of Krishna, then it's become spiritualized. So when we take this prasadam, then our mind and body become spiritualized. So then we can actually purify our consciousness to think of higher things of Krishna. So we are what we eat. That's one of the sayings. So the more we eat Krishna's prasadam, Krishna's remnants, then the more we will become spiritualized and be able to understand spiritual subject matters. So here, Purvachuti is being described, and it's interesting because when you think of it, when you hear descriptions of Krishna, it's similar. Like he's got shark-shaped earrings, makara, shark-shaped earrings, and he's got jeweled earrings, like shaped like sharks, and so many descriptions of Krishna describe that his teeth are like pearls, rows of pearls, and his hair is like scattered, like resembling bumblebees. Krishna's very often described as a bumblebee, or in many, many ways, Krishna's eyes are like bumblebees, or his body is like a bumblebee. And he's so many descriptions in the Bhagavatam describe Krishna's body, and his eyes are like lotus petals. So in this way, we even within this verse we can see that the the acharyas, even in every verse of the Bhagavatam, they're seeing Radha and Krishna. They're just seeing Krishna's pastimes. So even within this verse, the acharyas can see that the description of Krishna, although Agnidra is describing Purvachuti, still we can see how You can actually meditate on Krishna through this. So in the same way, whatever we see in the material world is just a reflection of Krishna's beauty in one sense. It's whatever beautiful things we see in the material world, it's just a reflection. And Krishna says that all these, in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the opulence of the Absolute. Krishna is describing his opulences in all the different manifestations of the material world. And of all the great things in the world, he's the greatest. So of all fishes, he's the shark. Of all rivers, he's the river Ganges. So many descriptions of Krishna's opulences. And Krishna says that this is just a spark of my splendor. So whatever we see in the material world, even no matter how beautiful it may be, no matter how enchanting it may be, it's just a spark of Krishna's splendor. And it's very, very insignificant compared to Krishna's beauty. Krishna is attracting millions and millions of cupids, and cupids are very beautiful, and they're very, very attractive, and they enchant the minds of all. But Krishna is so attractive that he enchants millions of cupids. So Krishna's form is described in the Brahma Samhita, that his colour is of a hue of a cloud, a blackish cloud, and his eyes are like lotus petals, and his head is bedecked with a peacock feather, and his beautiful body is charming millions of cupids. So all these descriptions of Krishna in the Bhagavatam and the Brahma Samhita attract the devotees' minds, because there is no form that can be compared to Krishna's form. Even it's described that Lord Vishnu is very, very beautiful, but even he is, all the Narayan, all the different Vishnu expansions are attracted to Krishna's beauty. So Krishna is the most beautiful. And even all the different, even Lakshmi Devi, she's very, very beautiful, but she cannot compare to Krishna's beauty. Because when Krishna showed his form of Mohini Murti, that was actually more beautiful than Lakshmi Devi. So even Krishna, when he expands himself into a form of a woman, he's actually more beautiful than Lakshmi Devi. So all these descriptions are to help us become attracted to the eternal beautiful form of Krishna. Krishna's form is Satchidananda, full of eternity, knowledge and bliss. And when a devotee serves Krishna and meditates on him, he also develops the qualities of Satchidananda, because the jiva, the spirit soul, ultimately is Satchidananda. It's eternally full of bliss and knowledge. But it's just covered by this ignorance, this material conditioning, to think that he's anything else. And he becomes conditioned by ignorance and passion, and forgets his actual identity, forgets that he's he is full of bliss and knowledge, he's full of love for Krishna. So just as a child's innate ability to walk is there, and by practicing how to walk, it ultimately starts to walk, then similarly the living entity's natural propensity is to love Krishna. It's dormant in everyone's heart, and by the practice of sadhana bhakti, that is evoked, this loving devotion to Krishna is evoked through the practice of sadhana bhakti. And by this process, the devotee starts to develop his affectionate relationship with Krishna. His love for Krishna will be awakened. Just like a child, by the practice, it starts to walk. Of course, when a child learns to walk, it also falls down a few times, up and down. He doesn't just start walking and is perfect in his walking. So there will be ups and downs when we start to practice sadhana bhakti, and there will be like some falls. But the devotee shouldn't think that now I've fallen and that's everything over, because he can just pick himself up again and start walking. Just like a child starts, doesn't give up. It doesn't become disappointed and upset that he's fallen down. Immediately the child will try to get up again and start walking again. And it keeps doing this over and over again till it completely learns how to walk. So similarly, sadhana bhakti is that process where we have to keep practicing it, putting it in practice, and no matter how many times we may fall from the practice or deviate or get distracted, we have to pick ourselves up and continue on the process to perfection. Because we shouldn't become despondent, we shouldn't give up this process, because this is the process which is going to bring about our love for Krishna. And all the different processes of sadhana bhakti, like chanting the holy names, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, there's five potent processes of sadhana bhakti. Does anybody know those processes? The five most potent? Linda?
Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting holy name, worshiping, deity worship,
Yeah.
and
Residing in a holy place.
worship itself.
It's association of devotees. So by these five processes, hearing the holy names, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, associating with devotees and serving devotees, residing in a holy place, and deity, worshipping the deity, then these will evoke our dormant love for Krishna. This will become apparent, become manifest, through this process. There are also other regulations that we have to follow, the rules and regulations of deity worship, different, like accepting a spiritual master. It's all the nectar of devotion. Read the nectar of devotion on sadhana bhakti. You will get all the different items that are necessary to perform devotional service, sadhana bhakti. Accepting a spiritual master, serving the spiritual master, taking initiation, and all these different activities will help us to develop our pure love for Krishna. And this will enable us to remain fixed. We can't reach Bhava Bhakti unless we perform sadhana bhakti. We can't reach prema unless we perform sadhana. It's not possible. Of course, Lord Chaitanya is very merciful and he can give Krishna prema, to whoever he wants, but it's generally not seen or heard of apart from Lord Chaitanya's pastimes when he was present on this planet. So, and taking prasadam is an important part of that process. Accepting the remnants of Krishna's foodstuffs, his garlands, the Maha garlands, anything that's been used by Krishna is Maha prasadam, so we can respect it. So in that way we stay connected to Krishna. Is there any questions or comments? Yes, Peter.
I have two short questions.
Okay.
The first question is about eating prasada. And I still don't remember the full text of the prayer we should pray before eating prasada. And is it okay when I do a short form like Krishna, please control my tongue while eating prasada? Or shall I learn the whole text by heart?
We should learn the whole text. Now, all the devotees should know this prayer by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He gave us this prayer to honour Prasadam. But if you learn the translation as well, then you know what you're saying. So it's good. I mean, ultimately, it's our consciousness. We don't just rattle it off, you know, and not think of what it means. So it's good if you can pray like that as well. But it's also good that you know the verse, because it's a general thing that every devotee knows. It'd be very strange if you went somewhere and you didn't know this verse. They were wondering, you know. So yeah.
The second question is about the brilliant sharks. I'm from Western culture.
Sorry, the what?
The brilliant sharks. The brilliant sharks.
Oh, the sharks.
Sharks, yeah, brilliant sharks. Because, okay, I'm from Western culture, and our imagination about sharks is more like, oh, we are very fearful, they are looking very ugly, big teeth, very dangerous. But here in this verse, it's more like, it's a brilliant shark, it's so beautiful, and I don't understand why this is so different understanding in the Indian culture and Western culture.
I think it's more the shape of the fish. I always thought it's the shape of the shark rather than the shark itself. You know, it's more like, you know, an earring that's shaped like a shark. Maybe it's very, very attractive, the way it's shaped, because it's shark-shaped earrings. So it's more the shape that it's referring to. So yeah, it's not like.
We are not accustomed to it.
Yeah, it's there's different descriptions of like what Krishna's form is like, and sometimes the descriptions may not kind of register with us because we don't think it's very attractive, like the trunk of an elephant. You know, what, you know, to have the leg shaped like a trunk of an elephant doesn't sound very kind of, you know, very attractive to us, but that's a description, you know, I've heard. Or Srimati Radharani's braid is like a snake, and you think, oh, that doesn't sound very nice, but you see, this is just poetic, the way they use poetry in Sanskrit and the Vedic tradition. So, and generally, it's not like, you know, for our Western minds, we may not be able to deal with it sometimes, but we have to get used to this. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Is there anything else? Or anything? Any comments to you? Felix?
Does incense also count as prasada?
Yeah. The Maha incense that becomes it. Yeah.
So,
So then,
like you could offer devotees some incense, or we could offer the public some incense and offer.
yeah, I mean, as long as they know what it is. I mean, some people don't even know what incense is, but you know, like if you have like friends that know something, or you can explain to them what it is that you burn it, and it's a nice scent, then you can offer incense, flower garlands. Sometimes when I go see my parents, I take them flower garlands and put it around them, because you get freed from all sinful reactions by putting on a Maha flower garland. There's so many benefits. Taking Charnamrita, accepting a flower garland, this remnants of Krishna's clothing, you know.
Is also taken every day in water from
Charnamrita, yeah, very, very powerful. So we're very fortunate we get so much Mahaprasadam throughout the day, you know. The bathing water, the garlands, incense, so many things that we can accept. And and also the Lord also considers that you know, Krishna's remnants are considered prasadam, but our devotees, like the spiritual master's remnants, is considered Maha prasadam. So it's actually greater. It's Maha. So this is we're very fortunate when we get devotees coming here, spiritual masters, sannyasis, then we get their Mahaprasadam if it's possible, get their remnants so and get purified. Because it's described that just like if somebody has got a disease and you take their remnants, then you'll get infected by that disease. So in the same way, if somebody is spiritually evolved, when you take their remnants, it'll affect your consciousness, it'll affect you. So that way, just like Narada Muni, in the first canto, it's described that he was with the Bhakti Vedantas. He was just a little boy, and these sages came, and they were great devotees, Bhakti Vedantas, and they were discussing Krishna's pastimes and wonderful like meditation. And Narada Muni just took their remnants of their foodstuffs, and because of that, he became Narada Muni. So it's such a powerful, way. And there is a story actually. There was an air hostess, and Prabhupada was on the plane. I don't know if devotees have heard this story. And Prabhupada was on the plane, and he had a bit of puffed rice on his plate left over. And the stewardess came, the air hostess came, and she goes, "Oh, what's this?" And she started eating the remnants of Prabhupada's food, the puffed rice. And then years later, they went to this place where, I can't remember what was, does anybody remember where it was?
Is it South America?
Something like that. And a devotee was doing Sankirtan, and he went into this jungle area, or I don't know what it wasn't like very inhabited. And he found a house. He went and he knocked on the door, and the lady opened the door, and inside was like pictures of Krishna and an altar and everything. And he asked her how she had all the books and everything. She goes, it all started that she had Prabhupada's remnants on the plane. So that's how powerful remnants are of a pure devotee. And there's many stories of, I've been watching this Prabhupada DVDs, Prabhupada Memories, and devotees are talking about how they washed Prabhupada's feet, and they drank all that Charnamrita from Prabhupada's feet, and it was like ecstatic, They got so much mercy from that. So it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's described that by taking the remnants of foodstuffs of a devotee, by taking the water that's washed their feet, and by one other thing, I can't remember, but can anyone remember that?
What's it?
Water from their feet, water that they've drunk, and their no, water that's washed their feet. Well, the same thing. And the water that they've drunk and the foodstuffs, the remnants of their food, is very, very potent. And there was actually an associate of Lord Chaitanya called Kali Krishna Das, and he used to make it a point of trying to get the remnants of devotees' food and water that's washed their feet. And there was one time that Lord Chaitanya was going to the Jagannath temple, and he washed his feet, and that devotee took the water from his feet, and Lord Chaitanya was very pleased, because he knew that Kali Krishna was always trying to find, some way to get the remnants of Krishna's, of the devotees. And there's one time he offered this mango to this devotee. He went to his house, he offered the mango to the devotee, and the devotee offered the mangoes, and he had the mangoes, and he threw them through the pip outside the window. And the Kali Krishna Das was standing outside the window waiting to get the remnants. So he took the pulp and the skin and the seed, and it's accepted that as remnants. So he was hiding outside the house to get the remnants. So yeah, it's a very wonderful mood to have, to get the remnants of devotees and the remnants of the Lord, to respect it, that is spiritual, not just some mundane food stuff. So, is that anybody else got anything to add? Any stories?
Question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a little story actually. There's one devotee went to doing door to door, and because there's a lady with a dog, and the dog's barking. When it came to the door, the dog stopped barking because it could smell the maha incense. The devotee that changed the whole situation.
Nice, thank you. Oh, your question?
Yeah, it's like feeding brahmanas or feeding devotees is like a really auspicious thing to do. But how is it that somebody who's a non-devotee, they're not necessarily, you can't cook for a devotee or a brahman, so how do they engage in feeding devotees and brahmins? Do they just provide?
Well, they can serve them prasad. Oh, you mean non-devotees outside?
Yeah,
They can provide like boga, like food stuff, like fruit and veg or anything that we can cook with. That's also service to. When we get so many guests coming, they can't cook for the devotees, but they offer they bring fruits and vegetables and grains and all sorts of things to cook with. So it's the same principle.
That's why so many sponsor feasts for the devotees.
Yeah. So you can sponsor a feast for the devotees. That's feeding the brahmanas as well. Yeah, it's a cultural thing as well, but it's a very important aspect of devotional service to do that. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Oh,
Just a short
Peter.
question about the Shanamrita. In some temples, I see mostly it's made of yogurt, and why not here?
It doesn't have to be, because they add the yogurt to it. Some pujas also have the yogurt as part of the bathing substance, you see. So they have like ghee and yogurt and substances to bathe the deities with, but we don't do that here. And also we used to add yogurt to it just to make it nicer. But it's not necessary, because I've been to so many temples in India that it's just water, there's no yogurt in it. So it's not a necessary thing, it's just to make it more palatable for the devotees to drink it,
Tulsi is the best prasadam.
Yeah, so tulsi, remnants of tulsi, smelling the fragrance of offered tulsi is like so potent. It's like the story of the four Kumaras when they went to Vaikuntha and seen Lord Vishnu. Because they were Brahmavadis, they were impersonalists, but as soon as they smelt the tulsi that's been offered to the Lord's feet, they gave up this impersonalism and became personalists. So it's a very, very potent way of making advancement. So if you ever get a chance, smell the offered tulsi, take it from take the remnants of the tulsi, you can smell the tulsi garlands, you can, accept the maha tulsi from the deity's feet, from the offerings. It's very potent. Okay, thank you. So Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Iskon Gurvind ki jai, Shaprabhat ki jai, Gopin.